Psychodynamic therapy is one of several approaches to therapy used today. However, it is often misunderstood and dismissed as an outmoded approach or historical artifact. It is also often misrepresented in popular culture and sometimes seen as irrelevant to the quick fix demands of the public and the limitations of insurance. Nevertheless, there is strong evidence supporting psychodynamic therapy as effective in comparison to other approaches, and a basic understanding of this approach is helpful regardless of your current theoretical orientation or your experiences in therapy. This brief introduction will offer a contemporary definition of psychodynamic therapy and highlight several key concepts. Psychodynamic therapy is based on the premise of psychoanalytic theory. It has a rich historical tradition and evolution through major theoretical schools including drive, ego, object relations and attachment theory, self-psychology, and contemporary relational theory. At its core, psychodynamic therapy aims to foster psychological growth by developing greater awareness and access to the human experience. To this end, therapy fosters honesty and values authenticity with the understanding that this can lead to greater life satisfaction and personal agency or freedom. Psychodynamic therapy and the ways in which it is practiced have evolved significantly since the time of Freud. What makes therapy psychodynamic? Jonathan Shedler writes that at its core, contemporary psychodynamic therapy can be understood as a range of treatments based on psychoanalytic theory and methods, with a focus on exploring these aspects of the self that are not fully known, especially as they are manifested and potentially influenced in the therapy relationship. As is illustrated, the foundation of the psychodynamic approach involves a focus on making the unconscious more conscious. This can also be understood as helping someone better understand aspects of themselves or their behaviors that had previously been largely unknown to them. In other words, helping one to admit what is difficult and painful to see in oneself. Two of the foundational principles of psychodynamic psychotherapy are the impact of early childhood experiences and relationships in shaping the life of a client as an adult, and the role of transference and countertransference as a door to understanding the client and their interactions with others. The emphasis for each of these may differ depending on the theoretical school within psychodynamic thought. Of course, there are also important concepts beyond these two, such as defense mechanisms. Regarding the impact of early childhood relationships, practitioners are often most concerned about how knowledge of the past will help the client in the present. One clear example may involve the ways in which early caregivers responded to a child in distress. A child reacted to in a hostile manner or ignored will likely develop unique differences as an adult when compared to a child who was acknowledged, understood, and encouraged. Of course, the precise nature of these differences would still vary depending on the unique characteristics and personality of each client. The second principle of transference and countertransference explores the relationship with a focus on how the client feels towards you, transference, and how you feel towards the client, countertransference. This principle involves repetition of past patterns of relatedness within the therapy relationship. Therefore, practitioners may benefit from paying attention to the way a client reacts to them and their overall behavior in the relationship. A simplified example includes the following. A client feels warmly towards her new therapist, so she works hard to please her and provides compliments and praise. The therapist begins to feel frustrated as she wishes her client would focus more on what's actually going on in her life. The transference is seen in the client's feeling warm regard for the therapist and attempting to gain love and affection, as she had struggled to receive from her mother as a child. The countertransference is seen in the therapist feeling frustrated and experiencing an urge to be abrupt or harsh with the client. In this example, the client unknowingly repeated her past relational patterns with her mother within the therapy relationship, even causing the therapist to experience an urge to snap at her, just as her mother had done. This simplified example likely holds useful information to explore with the client. A goal here could be helping the client understand why they felt drawn to behave in certain ways towards others, and use this new awareness to exercise more choice in the behavior within relationships. Length of treatment can vary significantly. Traditionally, psychoanalytic therapy was considered an open-ended process. However, long-term psychodynamic therapy has recently been defined as at least 24 sessions or 6 months. Psychodynamic therapy typically involves meeting once or twice per week with a therapist, whereas classical psychoanalysis more commonly involve meetings every day or at least 3 times per week. There are several distinctive features of psychodynamic psychotherapy. First, focus on affect and the expression of emotion. Here, the therapist might help a client identify and name feelings with a particular emphasis on feelings that are most elusive or difficult. In some cases, the therapy dyad focuses on feelings that are experienced as unacceptable or connected to ideas about how one should or should not feel. There is also an understanding that emotional insights differ from solely gaining intellectual understanding. Specifically, insights that have an emotional component are often experienced more deeply and are more likely to encourage growth. Second, exploration of attempts to avoid. Similar to avoiding distressing emotions, people may also work hard to avoid other aspects of themselves or honest self-reflection that is encouraged in therapy. Psychodynamic therapy attends to this avoidance, naming it and processing it as part of the therapy. Third, identification of recurring themes and patterns. Patterns and themes can be seen in the way that everyone moves through life. Often these patterns and themes involve repeated relationships with, for example, clients finding the same destructive partner again and again. Psychodynamic therapy focuses on efforts on helping clients identify and process themes in their life, as well as in their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This can sometimes include concepts of themselves and of others. Fourth, discussion of past experiences. As described above, a focus on early experiences is a cornerstone of psychodynamic therapy, with the goal of understanding how these experiences continue to impact current functioning. The focus is generally on insight and awareness in regards to how the past influences the present, with the goal of fostering greater freedom in the present. Fifth, focus on interpersonal relations. Early experiences in significant relationships form another cornerstone of psychodynamic therapy. The emphasis here is on how these early relationships influence personality and self-concept, as well as values and worldview. Attachment patterns are also significant, and therapists are interested in how interactions with early caregivers influence current views of others and the manner in which a person gets their own needs met through relationships. 6. Focus on the therapeutic relationship. This focus includes transference and countertransference, with attention to the themes that arise between the therapist and the client, and how these themes may parallel themes in the person's relationships outside of therapy. This is also increasing acknowledgement of the contributions of the therapist as a unique person with their own unique psychology and values, and how this influences the relationship as well. Lastly, exploration of wishes, dreams, and fantasies. Generally, this technique refers to creating a space where the client can speak freely. This exploration allows for a broad range of content to emerge that can be used to further understand the unique way that a client navigates the world around them. It can also be a rich source of metaphor and meaning. In addition to the psychoanalytic theories that inform psychodynamic therapy and the foundational concepts outlined above, psychodynamic therapists generally ascribe to a psychoanalytic sensibility. This includes understanding that the source of many of our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are outside of our awareness. There is also a strong appreciation for the complexity and contradiction that often exists within human experience. Likewise, there is a balance between an appreciation for the common human struggles, both the therapist and the clients, and the subjectivity of each person's experiences. Lastly, an enduring curiosity and focus on expanding the human experience to allow for greater sense of authenticity is paramount. Giving clients space to wonder also helps them to become more curious about themselves. In conclusion, psychodynamic therapy is an effective approach with a rich tradition. It is continually evolving and has increasingly become a focus of research. A number of key concepts are important to this approach, and the view that unconscious motivations impact our behaviors and our emotions is foundational. In contrast to traditional psychoanalysis, contemporary practitioners emphasize the interpersonal and relational aspects of therapy and view the relationship as central.